Impossible. Okay, so I'm going to stop it right when she lands her 2.5 to show you how square she is compared to the other kid. If I can get it right. All right, watch this. Watch her arms. Her arms are completely extended. She comes out of that baby and she's like, wow, there's the arm. And she's ready. She's in a tight arch, feet are behind her, and when she does her front, it goes above her head. As a direct result of having an awesome 2.5. Look how high her front is.
I think key there is visualizing where the head and chest are on the landing.
Yeah.
The front top. If their head's down looking for the front top.
They got to be open. Yeah, they got to come out being open like that, and that's really scary because they don't want to see the floor.
Right.
So that is, as my son would say, that's tight. That is tight.
If you're not comfortable with seeing where the head and the arms are to go into fronts, that you do a lot of practice judging at home and stop and frame it, because when front tumbling started to become the more you saw it more often, that's the only way I could do it. And then I went into a gym just to see if I could stop my camera with my eyes on where the arms are, because that's critical.
Okay, I want to show you this one kid. She does a really hard pass.
So that one, just generally speaking, would you say there's about 2/10 difference between that first one, that combination, and that one? Or 10.5? I mean,
That's your part.
the first 2.5 punch front to that second one.
No deduction on either. What are you talking about? That was great.
Remember the first one? It was landing, height, the second skill, and the legs crossed on the
Okay, moving on to front tumbling. This is a great example of a really unique pass that you don't see a lot. And the reason you don't see it a lot is because it's really hard. Anytime you don't see it a lot, guess what, guys? It's hard. That's why nobody does it. The ones you see all the time, they're easy. That's why everybody does it. She has front double fold, punch front.
Wow.
And she's a little issue on the landing. And she wasn't quite as square as a 2.5 kid, but that's a hard pass. Really hard pass. And again, you look at her body type compared to the double A kid. She's a twister. But she can double pike too. And wait to see the last pass. We won't wait. Here she goes. She in the corner, and then she goes. Front full. Last pass. That's pretty decent for college level athlete. You don't see that very much. Most of them go lay out something lay out. Bit of double. Yeah. She's a little off kilter on her landing because she's not quite all the way around in her double.
This was separate too. Yep, it was. Yeah.
But you can see
It's because the first one was slow and the second one was fast.
almost around. She's like, oh my God, here comes the floor. I better get my head around. She kind of sneaks her head around, but her hips are not there.
She's strong, that's why she can make it.
Where was she looking? Her head?
And she lands and she's like, whoops, my butt's going the other way.
Can I just interject here, because I should have mentioned when we first started talking. We talked about landings yesterday. Just so you know that it was added to the execution in the code that on floor gymnasts are allowed to take a small hop to a lunge. Small hop to a lunge. But it has to be balanced. It can't be an out of control hop. And in this case, it has to be in the direction of the skill. So even though she took a small hop, it was backwards.
Evelyn, I'm glad you mentioned that because I've been at meets where like on a double layout, it's a big skill, and the girl takes a large step back. And because the lunge, I mean, the first leg doesn't move, but because the second leg's going 3 feet back, people are hitting 210s.
We had one on here earlier.
Yeah, we did, and I almost brought it up
Took
at
a
the point.
huge step back.
Right.
And I would, because it says a small step to a lunge, I think what I would be taking on that gymnast was a balance error on the land that caused her to go that step. So I would have, because she was out of balance, that's what made her take the big step, but I would take it to 10.
Well, because of that 3-foot designation.
Well, again, you're the judge, you're not, you have some leeway there. It was not a huge hop back to a lunge that was totally out of control.
Correct.
It was a controlled one, but yes, her second foot did go back.
Right.
I would take it.
Okay, which is a perfect segue into my next point.
Yeah.
Dynamics and artistry, and judging equals judgment. You guys are in the business to make judgment calls. What we're doing is trying to give you the tools to objectively measure a subjective performance. So, it's a tough job. It's a really tough job because beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What do you say, Meg?
I was just going to say that it's important to note too that the 2.5 twist and punch front, it's a hard pass, so you don't see it very often, but you still have to take the deductions that exist there. And if someone chooses, like if a coach says, well, I'm not going to let you do it because there's too much deduction, we're going to just do a nice clean 2.5 or double twisting front, then she shouldn't be penalized for doing not as much. She should actually, if it's cleaner, get less of a deduction. So I just think that's important to say, that it's great to do the unique and cool passes, but you can't ignore the execution deduction just because it's unique and cool.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about technique of them. Valerie's here, so she's going to put the coach's part in on it. All right, so the first one, I want you to take a pencil and just write down what it is you see.
Try it again. 2 foot.
We're going to do slow motion now. Well, that's all right. Oh, he ran it back for you. It goes slow. See, I gave you a hint. Okay. She did a wolf full to a popa.
She planned.
wanted a full, but
She planned.
All right.
pulled it out.
And this is slow motion. Now you're going to see. Now, I call when they take off already partially turned, I call that cheating, and if they don't quite get around, I call it incomplete. So in this case, she didn't cheat, which you know well. Which I did. And I considered that a 3/4. Okay, now there is no 3/4 in the book, so you have to then either give it a half or, okay, stop now, wait a minute. You either have to give that one a half and take off for up to 2, or you're going to give it the full and take the 2/10 on it. Again, those are your judgments, but those were her attempts. I personally didn't think, because she cheated it, I felt in her amount of completion on that one was less than 3/4, so I would not have given that the C skill. All right, now here's your second one. Half. First of all, the split. And while you're looking at these, make sure you're looking at total internal amplitude, meaning not just how high they're getting off the floor, but the torso stretch, the arms, because many times we see the arms